Hello. My camera's just, it's weird to, it's hard to get the flickering down on it, but Saturday morning, another weekend sober, no hangover. Gonna be the workout schedule here in a few hours. Yeah, life is good. I'm still tired a lot. Still get angry. Still drinking coffee, but have a few bullet points to cover. And there's a quote that I heard a long time ago, and I've always thought about it. It's true. Youth is wasted on the young. It's sort of true. Like when you're young, you never realize how young you actually are. Like when I was 13, I felt way older than, like a 7-year-old. Like, I was like, oh, I'm getting older, but I was still a teen, I was still a kid. When I was 18, I felt exponentially older than 13. And then like in my 20s, I just felt like I was old. When in reality, you're not. You're like a baby adult. You're still a kid. You really are. I view 20-year-olds as like young, like adult children or something. It's weird, but when you're 20, 25, in your late 20s, you just feel like you're getting old. Like, oh my God, I'm old. And you're really not. You're so young, I remember being like 24. I didn't realize how young I was. It's craziness. And now I'm in my 30s, and I there's a stint in me that makes me feel like, man, I'm old. But I know when I'm like 50, I'll look back and be like, wow, I was still young. To me, like over 60 is when I'm gonna feel. I feel like I will feel elderly, right? I'm good. Once I'm 60, I'll admit I'm old now. But some people may disagree with that. That's fine. But I'm sure my late 30s and my 40s, I'm trying to get into this mindset where I'm still not that old. I know I'm, over the half median in life for the average person, unless I lived to 90 or 100. I'm fine with whatever comes my way. But, yeah. People in their 20s, they feel like they're getting, I always hear them say like, oh, I'm getting old, blah, blah, blah. Like you just always feel like you're getting old. And then I know a lot of young people that drink a lot of alcohol. And I was in that position too when I was that age. And at that age, it's like, it's more socially acceptable. You're going to college parties, house parties, everyone's doing it. And a problem can get masked and it can go into your late 20s, early 30s very easily. Like, I know for a fact, I know some young 20-year-olds that have some problems with alcohol. But it's just acceptable. They're young. And I don't preach to nobody, not even people that are in their 50s drinking like fiends, unless they ask me something. But I don't really spread that I'm sober to people. I don't, some people know about it just because they're like, oh, where have you been? You haven't been to the bar. You haven't been out. You know what I mean? Or they'll be curious, or they'll hear it third party. But I don't seek telling people about it. I make the content on YouTube. My family and some of my friends know. But I don't go preaching. I'm sure there's some people that still think I actively drink, even though I'm about a year sober. But yeah, when you're in your young 20s, I don't even think about talking to somebody about. I'll be like, oh man, make sure you get it in when you're young, like get it in and out, be in and out with it by the time you're 25 or by the time you're 30 at the latest, but. And I've seen some 22-year-olds look wrecked over the holidays. Like, they've even done 2-3 day stretches of drinking, and, like, they look, like, horrible, with the hangover. And I'm like, man, I do not miss that. And they're way younger than me. And I was doing the same crap, when I was that age. But, yeah, it's a lot harder to talk to somebody who's in that partying age group. That young partying age group, because it's everywhere for them. It's just socially acceptable. Like, I'm sure even their parents are like, oh, he's young. He's just going through a phase, So like, I'll just say, get it in while you're young. Because you're not going to stop them. Even if they don't have a problem, they're still going to go through that phase, right? If they enjoy the drinking environment. But it can develop, and it can hinder their life. I mean, you can develop a habit very early if you take a liking to it. But yeah, everyone's constantly thinking they're old when they're not, and they're blowing time that you think you have infinite amounts. I mean, when you're young, I can only wrap my head around it so far. When you're like 5, right, you've experienced a lot less time on Earth. When you're, 10, 15, I felt like time was endless when I was, a kid and a teenager. I felt like the years, the summers, summers went by quick, back to school, all that, the 70, 80, 90 days you had off for summer. It felt like it was quick, but it just felt endless. And as you get older, now that I'm past 30, I've experienced double, triple, quadruple that amount of time. So a year doesn't seem as long anymore because I've experienced the length of my life. A year is such a small increment compared to what it was when I was younger, right? That's how I wrap my head around it. And I think, I'm trying to think of somebody who explained that years ago. Tom Green mentioned it, and it was sort of in a joke, a stand-up joke. Hold on, I gotta stop my cat. There we go. I didn't squirt him, but it gets him away from my dog. It'll terrorize my dog. But that's karma because my dog did it to him when he was young. That's how I wrap my head around it. And as time goes on, everyone says as you're older, time goes way faster, and it does. It really does. I can only imagine if I lived to 50, 60, 70. So, you spend your childhood wanting to be an adult, and then you're an adult, and you're like, man, I wish I could go back to childhood. Next thing you know, if you take a liking to alcohol or some heavy substances, your 20s and 30s can blow by. Or if you get in trouble and you spend time in jail, God forbid, I never have, so thank God for that. Don't even have a speeding ticket to my name. Very happy about that. But, your youth can just get shattered, or you can just numb out through it. Like, I had a lot of fun times. There's a lot of times I don't regret. But I wish I would have been more present, and I wish I would have been more productive. I think about it all the time, and I'm glad I got that in my 30s and not my 50s or 60s. I feel like some people wake up too late in life, or it's too late, or they just never change. But yeah, I'm very thankful. I just wish I could go back to when I was about 25. That would have given me a decade of growth and productivity. I was a lot of times I was quite productive even while drinking, like on the weekends, But nothing compares to sobriety, like having your entire weekend, no hangover, hindrance, no money spending on the alcohol, no being around just absurdity and belligerent people. You're not in those situations. Life's a lot less stressful, and no work issues, My performance is always on par. I can be tired, but yeah. Gosh, just at 25, just to have wisened up and just been done with it. My cat's right back over there terrorizing him. But I'm going to let it roll. But, yeah. People just... They go stagnant, and they think they have forever. And like when you're 20, 10 years is a long time, right? You have a lot of time. Like, you can get your stuff together at any age, honestly. I believe that. But people don't realize it passes, and it will pass. And when you see someone who's 80 and you think it's funny, Nico. Yeah, this video is toast, but stop. Go to your cage. Get in there. I'm tired of this. There. Anyways. Yeah. time will pass and you will look back. I remember vividly when I was 22 thinking, man, one day I'll be in my 30s. And I felt so old at the time. And I'm like, I was sitting there thinking, one day I will look back and I'll be like, man, I remember that time I was sitting and thinking about being in my 30s. And I have so much time till this happens. And now look, I'm here and I look back and it's like, wow, time flew by. Had a lot of experiences, a lot of fun, a lot of downtimes, a lot of depression, but it happened. 10 years, boom, phew. You know, and the younger people don't realize that until they reach those ages. That's why everyone says, "Oh, time doesn't stop for anybody." You know, everyone ages out, and that's the truth. And I'm sure I'll be thinking the same thing when I'm 45, 55. But that's the cycle of life, you know? That's a circle of life. And the more time goes on, the less it bothers me. Sometimes I'll think about it. I'm like, wow, time just flies, especially now that I'm in my 30s. 6 months feels like a month sometimes. It's like I don't know where the times, went, especially during like a major life event like COVID and the pandemic. The past 3 years since 2020 feels like a blur, all the stuff that was going on. But yeah, that's about it for this one.